Hi people, it's me Anja, my pronouns are she and her, and welcome back to my channel for part 4 of my favorite retellings. Typically whenever I start these videos, I tend to say that I don't read retellings that often, but my last video about retellings was 4 months ago, so maybe I do read retellings more often than I think I do. But anyway, the first book on this list is called One for All. This book is a YA historical fiction retelling of the Three Musketeers with a main character who has a chronic illness. This book is absolutely so good and so worth the hype, not just because of the disability representation, because even though that alone was so good and it was so well done and so timely and so necessary in more historical fiction settings, like the story overall was also so excellent, so awesome. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. The friendships were so lovely and so wonderful. The plot was so intriguing and so well done. Literally, this book is so good and it's absolutely so awesome. I'm really looking forward to whatever the author writes next, because this debut was so awesome and it was so good. So anyway, with all of that said, this book is absolutely so good and so excellent. So with that said, I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called An Arrow to the Moon. This story is a YA contemporary retelling of Romeo and Juliet, but with Chinese mythology. This book is absolutely so excellent and it's so well done. Initially, I remember having really high expectations for this book last year, and it was on my April TBR of last year because Emily X. R. Pan, the author, previously wrote The Astonishing Color of After, which was absolutely so good. But then I DNF'd this book when I read it in April, but then I reread it like months later and it was so good. So anyway, long story short, this book is so good and it's so excellent. I really enjoyed it. Like, the romance was so well developed, so well paced. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. Literally, like, I love them. The plot was so intriguing and so engaging. All of the different perspectives weaved well together. Like, I understood all of them. Like, it made so much sense. The family dynamics were so well done. Literally, this book is so awesome and so good and so underrated. So with all that said, I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Gilded. This book is a YA fantasy retelling of Rumpelstiltskin, and it was absolutely so good. I had really low expectations for this book prior to reading it because, first of all, I hadn't read a book by Marissa Meyer in a very long time, at least a fantasy one. Second of all, her last fantasy YA retelling was the Alice in Wonderland Heartless one, and in my opinion, I didn't enjoy it as much as the general consensus. So with that said, I had very low expectations for this book, but this book absolutely exceeded those low expectations. Like, this book is so good. I really enjoyed the world building, the romance, the characters, and the plot, and the magic. Like, everything weaved together so well. This book is so awesome and it's so well done. And again, it's so underrated and it deserves so much more hype. This book is so good and so awesome. So anyway, with all of that said, like, this book is so good. And with that said, I would highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Blaine For The Win. This story is a YA queer contemporary retelling of Legally Blonde, which I didn't realize actually when I read it. But anyway, this book was so good and I really enjoyed it. And now I have much higher expectations for the author's next book, which I believe is called If I Can See You Again Tomorrow or something like that. And it's something about like a time loop or something. I'm not completely sure. But anyway, this book was another one that I had really low expectations for because I rated the author's previous book, The Sky Blues, 3 stars. So I wasn't expecting to rate this book 4 stars and absolutely like fall in love with it. This book is so good. I loved the characters, the gay romance, like everything about it was so well done. The friendships, the plot, like this book is so good and it's absolutely so well done. I loved it so much. Like, I was so captivated and riveted by like every single page from the beginning to the end. Again, this book is so underrated and it deserves so much more hype. So with all of that said, I would definitely highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Little Thieves. This book is a YA fantasy retelling of the Goose Girl, and there's a trigger warning on it for abusive parental relationships. This book is absolutely so excellent and so well done, and for the 1000th time, I wasn't expecting to. I had really low expectations for this book too, because I DNF'd the author's debut, and maybe now I'll go back and reread it and give it a second chance. But anyway, this book was so good. I absolutely loved it so much. I'm so excited for the sequel, which I believe is called Painted Devils, and it comes out next month. But anyway, this book was so good and absolutely so excellent. I loved the world building, the characters, like the romance, the demisexual representation, the plot, the world building, the friendships, the found family group. Like, this book was so good, and it was so captivating and so riveting and so intriguing. But again, please keep in mind the trigger warnings on this book. But other than that, this book was so good, and I really, really enjoyed it. So anyway, all that to say, I would highly, highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called A Bit of Earth. This book is a middle-aged contemporary retelling of The Secret Garden, but with a South Asian main character. This book was absolutely so excellent and so brilliant, and literally so well done in every single element. The world building was fantastic, like, the friendships were so well done. I love grumpy sunshine friendship dynamics. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. The plot was so captivating and so engaging and so intriguing. This book is absolutely so excellent, and it's so underrated, and it literally deserves so much more hype. I will gladly read more from this author in the future, because literally they are so talented. This book was so well done, and I just loved it so much. Literally, like, I had no idea what to expect from the plot. I didn't know that I would be so wrapped up in literally everything that was happening. Like, everything about this book was so well done and so captivating. And like I said, this book deserves so much more hype. So anyway, with all that said, this book is absolutely so excellent and so brilliant. So with that said, I would definitely highly, highly recommend it. The last book on this list, and certainly not the least, is called Hamra and the Jungle of Memories. This book is a middle-aged fantasy retelling of Little Red Riding Hood with a Malaysian main character. This book is absolutely so fantastic, and it's so good. First of all, the world building was so magical and so whimsical and absolutely so immersive. The plot was so intriguing and so engaging. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. I loved the friendships so much. Literally, this book is so good, so brilliant, so iconic. Definitely her best book, or at least one of her best books. But anyway, overall, this book was so good. I really, really enjoyed it because, like I said, I was so captivated and so riveted by literally everything that was happening. I love this book so much. Typically, I don't enjoy, like, pandemic stories, but this book was so awesome, and I just really, really enjoyed it because it felt so, like, relatable and timely and important, especially in, like, a post-pandemic world, if that makes any sense. But anyway, overall, I love this book so much, and I thought it was so good. So overall, I would definitely highly, highly recommend it. So in conclusion, since this video is a part 4 to my favorite retellings, I will leave parts 1 through 3 in the description box below in case you haven't seen those videos already and you want some more recommendations. So I hope that this video helped diversify your bookshelf. If you enjoyed this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the watermelon emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!